opportunity, perhaps then there is an opportunity to go into another development role within the organization. In South Africa, what I've noticed time and time again is that there is such an investment in wanting to help people that have different stories that can contribute value in different ways. And we often have these, and I'm speaking about myself here because this has happened a number of times. We often have these limitations on ourselves. So me at 45, there was something I wanted to do the other day. I can't remember what it was. And I thought, oh, how am I going to do this at 45? But that was my own limitation. It really was. And so what we do is that I was projecting that limitation out into the stratosphere. But what we need to think about is at 40, 45, I have journeyed, I have had great experiences along the way. What are the other things that I can bring to the table? But it's also about believing in that story and being able to tell it in a way that shows that you can add value, because it really isn't about age here. It's for organizations, often they have to have development roles, but there are other roles within businesses as well. So I hope that helps. And I don't know if there's anything more that I can add on that, but if there is, please, happy to expand if need be.
Thank you. Then one more question in the chat, which I think is very relevant to our student base. Any advice for someone who wants to move from public sector to private sector?
Thanks, Mariska. I would say to anyone wanting to, and I understand the nuances of why the question was asked. I would say what becomes very important is to be able to articulate the value that you've added. So again, often because we work cross sector as well, and unfortunately there are perceptions. People have perceptions. Let's call a spade a spade. But what I have found with parastatals, with public sector, is that when individuals can clearly articulate the value that they've added in those environments, that it does make a significant difference. So the way that you would articulate the value is to go back to your KPIs. We all have KPIs within organization. What are the specific KPIs that I have exceeded? What are the awards that I've gotten? Again, go back to data fluency and impact tracking. What was I able to contribute in terms of data fluency? Because data is everything in organizations now. And then impact tracking. What was the value to myself, the business, the organization? Again, we see too many CVs, government, corporate, it really doesn't matter, where it's just that articulation in terms of value contribution is not aptly communicated. And that is the differentiator.
Thank you very much. Then the last question from the chat before we take the hands. Very, very interesting, especially in the current environment. Do you always need to have a social media presence, both personal and business, to give employers a sense of your character as well as your technical competencies?
Not at all. I really don't think that it's imperative. I do recommend LinkedIn if you are open to having a business profile in the absence of your CV being afloat. But I really, in terms of the other more personal social media platforms, my personal recommendation is to keep them private, to use the privacy settings, because we all have lives outside of work. LinkedIn I like because even me, when I'm recruiting for candidates, even if I have a CV, I normally just pop over to LinkedIn just to have a look at their LinkedIn profile. And it's a great way to market yourself in the absence of you actually being in the room. And the way that you would work with LinkedIn is similar to your CV, but again, it gives you an opportunity to tell more of a story about yourself.
Thank you very much. And then the hand from, I don't know if it's Mr. or Mrs. Kweba. Go ahead, please.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, I was like, I've seen like a CV Well, I wanted to ask, like, what's the difference between like a CV and a professional CV?
So it's such a good question because there's so many different things out there. It's the same thing. It's just um, it's just the terminology that people have chosen to use. So they may call it a CV, they may call it a resume, or they may call it a professional CV. It's really the same thing. And my advice is not to have too many different documents as well. Just one document as as succinct, as well put together, that's very clear, is all that you need to be able to market yourself out there as well. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay, great.
Thank you, Benita. And then the last question that we are going to take today, it's from Bonche. Please continue.
Good morning.
Good morning, Bontle.
Ma'am, I just wanted to know if it's okay to have two different CVs because one for okay, currently I'm doing my second year, so it's difficult to land a job. So I just wanted to know if it's okay to have a CV for like when I want to apply for maybe a psycha training, whatever, and
Yes.
for retail because it's difficult like to get to yeah to I don't know if I'm making sense,
No, no,
but
no, it's fine.
yeah,
So let me understand, Bontle. I just want to ask you. So you're in your second year at the moment, and you're saying you want to have two CVs, one that you can apply for psycha, and the other one for part-time work. Is that right? Am I understanding
yeah, like for
correctly?
your retail, just to get experience because it's difficult to
Yes.
get jobs.
So tell me, what would be the difference on the two CVs? What in terms of content, what would be different?
I just feel like in retail, like if I want to be a sales consultant, uh, I won't be considered because I feel like they'll just look at that I'm doing accounting and they'll say I'm overqualified to do this.
I see what you mean. I see what you mean. So the thing about it, Bontle, and I mean, you make a very good point. But the thing about it is that you would still need to include what you're studying, um, unless unless it was very much a part-time thing. But I would imagine that you would need to still have it on your CV, unless they're not looking for a qualification. It depends on who they are as well, because you haven't already completed your degree and you're still studying. I My personal view is that you should keep it on, but if you feel more comfortable, it's totally up to you. The key thing about it is that we are honest and we are direct in terms of what we're putting on our CVs as well.
Okay, thank you so
All
much.
right. All right, Bontle. Letlo Honolo wanted to ask something. I saw your hand's been up for a while.
Please go ahead. Eholonolo. No, I think maybe use the chat, please. If you are unable to unmute yourself, just
Hmm.
use the chat and then you type the question in the chat, please. Benita, do you have time for one more?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Then let's go to Mr. Hadingwe, I think. My pronunciation's terrible, colleagues. My apologies. Please go ahead. Seem to have the same problem there. Victor Kunene, ask your
Um,
question, please.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
we
you,
can.
Victor.
All right, thanks. I just want to, Benita, I just want to know, the company that you're working for, the organization that you're working for, is it a recruitment agency?
It is
And
Victor.
then, and then, then how does one um, get in touch with you guys in terms of, you know? if however you want assistance in terms of your CV or
Sure,
in
no
terms of
problem.
employment. Yeah.
I'll send the details out to Diksha, and she can happily distribute it. If Diksha's on, if you're okay with that, Diksha.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
I
you.
think just to add to that, we will share all the information with the students as well as the slides and the handouts, and then also Benita's details and email address, because we've had a lot of questions in the chat for that. So we will definitely share it with all the participants today. Right, then, Benita, I am going to say thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mariska.
It was an absolute privilege to listen to you present, and one can see that you've got a passion for what you do, which is commendable. Like I've said, we will share all your details, the company's details, and the additional questions that we did not have time for. We will share that with you, and then we will then share your responses with our students. But Benita, thank you. Thank you for your time, and have a lovely day further.
Thank you all so much, and good luck with everything. All the best to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Then, students, I would then like to hand over to my colleague. That's going to be the program director for the rest of the program. She will be taking you through the remainder of the program, and it's Miss Gloria Sepula. Gloria, please take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariska. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Maybe can I see with a thumbs up if everyone can hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks, Gloria.
Okay, thank you so much. I unfortunately won't be able to open my video. Just having some challenges with this laptop. It's a new laptop, so we're still trying to figure it out. So the video is not opening as it should. As Mariska has said, my name is Gloria Sepula, and I will take over from here to the end of our program. So without wasting any time, I am going to call Ms. Fundi Malaza, who will be taking us on a topic of personal branding for accounting students. But before she steps on the virtual platform, I have a little bio. It is little, but it is very, very packed. Ms. Fundisiwe Malaza is a qualified chartered accountant and registered auditor. She's been a director and senior partner at Tsebang since 2007. She's affiliated with both the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants and the Independent Regulatory Board for Auditors. She has over 15 years of professional experience in the accounting and auditor sector. She currently serves and has served in various governance structures in the public and private sector, which included boards and audit and risk committees. She has hands-on financial reporting and audit experience in both public and private sector. She has also obtained previous academic experience as a senior lecturer at the University of Limpopo. Ms. Fundi Malaza, if you are ready, you can continue, ma'am.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It's still morning. I hope the camera is visible on your side. If I can just get a thumbs up if I am audible on your side.
Yes, you are audible and visible.
All right. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, once again. Good morning to our students, to the organizers, the program directors, as well as the management of the School of Economics, or is it Accounting Sciences? My apologies. Yeah, just good morning to everyone. Thank you once again for just providing me the opportunity to do a presentation today on just personal branding. I will not leave my camera open. Sometimes it does result into poor connectivity. So what I will do, just to give a wave and to say I'm here, I'm visible, I'm just going to share my presentation with you. Thank you. I can just have 2 minutes. Okay, if I can just get an indication if the presentation is visible.
It is visible.
All right, thank you. We can just proceed from here. All right, thank you so much. Once again, my name is Fundi Malaza. Yes, I am a qualified chartered accountant. Yeah, I have over 15 to 20 years experience. And what I must say up front as well, I'm a proudly UNISA student. I studied both my degrees towards becoming a chartered accountant through UNISA. I was 17 years old when I matriculated and studied through UNISA, which was at the time full-time correspondence. So I completed my undergrad. It used to be called BComt in those days, which is your Bachelor of Commerce in Accounting Sciences. I hope it's still called the same. And I further went again through UNISA to do a full-time studying, full-time correspondence through UNISA. And I also completed my honors degree as well as the CTA. So I did see some of the questions, from the previous presenter where there were concerns about whether if you are a UNISA student, how is the market perception? Honestly, it has worked for me. And I'm running my practice today because of the qualifications from UNISA. So I qualified as a chartered accountant, really only having UNISA qualifications. So it is possible and it is doable. Also full-time studying. I was going to the library at the main campus every day back in the days for 4 years, completed both degrees and went on to save my articles and went on to qualify as a chartered accountant, and later on in life went to start my own accounting or auditing practice. Thanks, just to give you that heads up as a UNISA student. Right, without wasting time, I will go straight into my presentation. I don't know why my screen is not moving. Apologies, let me just try to reshare. Seems to be stuck on my side. Okay, there we go. All right, thanks. In terms of what I will cover today, an overview, just while touching on the personal branding, I just thought it's necessary for better understanding, just to have an overview in terms of what is it that is expected or what is the career path that you are likely to go through as an accountant, so that you can understand the importance of personal branding or of your personal brand. Then section 2, part 2 of my presentation, we just cover what is actually a personal branding in the accounting context or accounting sector context. How do you build a personal brand? And also what is the value of having a good personal brand? Okay, I'm on the third slide. If I can just get a hands up, if my slides are moving on your side, I'm never too sure with technology. I'm on a slide that is career path for accounting students. Is it visible on your side?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I've had presentations, virtual presentations where you move the slides on your side, but on the other sides, they are not actually moving with you. Yeah, I'm just going to focus more at a student level to say, what are the possible career paths or what is a typical rather career path for an accounting student from where you are? What is it that you are likely to experience or to go throughout your career of 20 years, 30 years post your studies, so that it can just be better for you to understand how does your brand work and when do you start building your brand. I just did a small diagram that shows if we start at the bottom where you are still a student. So you'll be spending 3 to 4 years studying towards your junior degree or 1 year postgrad. From there on, you're gonna graduate, you're gonna go into the profession, join the profession and be a trainee professional. So in my stream as chartered accountants, that would normally be called serving articles. You'll be a trainee auditor, trainee accountant over a period of 3 years or so. And from there on, you'll move on after obtaining your articles or being signed off. You'll now be a junior professional, meaning that you are now an auditor, okay? Or you'll be a junior manager, depending on the environment that you are in. So there you'll spend about 3 to 5 years. From there, you will progress into a senior management role, about 10 years. And from there on, you'll progress into an executive management role, which there you'll spend about 10 to 15 years. And at some point, you'll end up maybe at the level where I am, where you now are able to become part of a board of directors, become part of audit and executive committees, board committees, be able to report to parliament, be able to, really be experienced in executive management. So the reason I'm sharing this slide with you and the information as well is so that you can just understand and appreciate how early and how soon you really need to start building your personal branding, because you cannot say, look, I will work on myself when I'm in executive management. I will work on my brand when I'm a junior professional manager. You start working on your brand as of today. While you are still at a student level, you will work on your brand. You'll see once we get to the detailed expectations of what a good personal brand should look like in terms of the importance or how does that fit together. But basically in any finance area, but more specifically, let's talk about the accounting stream. And more specifically, I've looked into the chartered accountancy stream. This is your career path. So this is your 20, 30 years of being in the profession. So you can see that the horizon really, it's unlimited. The opportunities are really unlimited. So I would really like to encourage those of you who are studying accounting in general, those of you who are also specializing in accounting to become chartered accountants, to say, believe you me, there will never be a point where you are without employment. There will never be a point where you are disadvantaged as a UNISA student. And there are opportunities for growing. As you grow, your career grows as well, and the opportunities that it presents. Now, coming into the question in terms of what is a personal brand? What is it? Look, I'm sharing this from a more practical approach. I'm currently an employer myself. I run an accounting and audit practice, as I've indicated, with 3 branches in different provinces. So in Limpopo, Northwest, as well as Kimberley. So I would like to share, or I've done this presentation from an aspect of being an employer, talking to students, and reason being, and another factor that I've looked at as well is that I'm also an accounting officer, meaning that I do sign off trainees who come to my firm to do articles. We have a total of about 30 employees that are really working under me. So I really do have experience, and I've seen a lot in terms of where students go wrong when they come in fresh from varsity as first years, where they go wrong in interviews, where they go wrong during their training contract, and where I have to release and assess them into the profession, but also where they go wrong post articles. So really my presentation is not technical, it is purely from a practical perspective and a practical experience. What is a personal brand of an accountant? It's really who you really are when no one is watching, and what is it that you stand for. That's what it is. As an accountant, you'll always be working on your laptop. You'll always be working on the numbers. You'll always be having access to the bank, to the finances of an organization. The opportunities will be many, but personal branding, in as far as an accountant is concerned, is who are you? What is it that you do when no one is watching, and what is it that you stand for? In summary, that really, really talks to your reputation. That really, really talks to your character. If you are someone who is unethical in your character, please don't proceed towards this stream. How do you build your personal brand? Now, in building your personal brand, I basically looked into different qualities that we're expecting from an accountant. As you come in as a trainee, in this instance, a trainee is someone who's coming in at your level as a graduate. You've graduated, you're excited, now you are signing up, looking for articles or for internship. You're coming for an interview at an accounting firm. What is it that is expected from you? Those who are starting towards the CA stream, you will see that my diagram talks a lot towards the code of professional conduct. I will start with reliability. You need to be reliable in this space. There are deadlines. You cannot move financial year ends if you're an accountant. If the financial year end of UNISA is 31st of December, the law says that the audit report must be completed within 2 months. So if you are not reliable, it's not going to work because within 2 months, they need to report to the minister, they need to report to parliament, or they need to report to the legislature, provincial legislator. Reliability is key. Coming to professional behavior, that is also key in as far as accounting is concerned. That talks to your speech, that talks to how you carry yourself, that talks to how do you also perceive yourself and perceive others. You are under pressure, some team members are not pulling up their socks, some team members are performing poorly. How do you respond? Do you have family problems? How do you respond in a professional environment? You will be dealing with executives who are not accountants. You'll be dealing with CEOs. You'll be dealing with junior finance staff that belongs to a client. You will realize at most of the times dealing with people who are more senior than you. Professional behavior. Trustworthiness. That says it all. You need to be trusted. As you progress in your career, you'll be a signatory to bank accounts of big institutions. Imagine the CFO of UNISA, how much finance or power they have or they get exposed to. So you need to be trustworthy. You will have wealthy individuals giving you access to their bank accounts and say, please manage my accounts, pay my employees at the end of the month, meaning that you really need to be trustworthy. Consistency in all the qualities that I've mentioned. Professional appearance, please. I've had to send home many trainees who have come to start on the first day of work. They come in, they've passed the interview, they've signed the employment contract. It's their first day. They come to the office, they're wearing sneakers and a t-shirt. I sent them away. And I said, look, it's your first day and you still think you're at varsity. It just does not work. Professional appearance, professional appearance, meaning, your appearance must be dignified. You must be neat. It must also be a fair presentation or representation of the profession. Remember, when people look at you, they're looking at the CASA, I've had to send trainees at home because they wear a suit and then it comes with sneakers. Men have not shaved, the hair is untidy, that's part of your branding, you get graduates or trainees who are smokers. When they finish smoking, they want to walk into a boardroom and the cigarette smells everywhere, professional appearance. How do you manage that? Professional appearance as well. It's very important. Professional competence. It's also very important. Please don't take to light what you go through or your studies. I've had to ask at some point students who are busy with articles or their training contracts with our firm and say, but where were you in class? Where were you when deferred tax was being discussed? Where were you when journal entries were being taught? How is it possible that you don't understand what is dividends tax? How is it? Because I don't want to do the work of a lecturer. Please use the opportunity that you have now. We don't want to be, when you come into a work environment, when you come into a training environment, and also when we sign you off and tell the sector and tell the world that you are now ready to be accepted into a job market. We don't want the brand of CASAs or the brand of accountants, professional accountants, to be tarnished because of lack of understanding of basic accounting concepts. Professional competence is key. People will ask you for advice. And remember, once you're out of the training environment and you get a job as a finance manager, as a CFO, the whole organization is looking up to you. You no longer have a training officer who is probably going to be myself or whoever is looking out or responsible for you during your training environment. You will no longer have those people looking over you and correcting you. Once you come out of your first 3 years of internship, you're on your own. If you work for a municipality, they will be saying, CFO, what should we do? You know, if there are problems with auditing, with assets, they'll be expecting you to understand the IFRS standards. They'll be expecting you to advise what journal entries must be processed. Confidentiality, I cannot emphasize that more. Confidentiality means that you are able to keep matters that you deal with on a daily basis confidential. It does not mean that if you have access to the bank accounts of a bank, of an investment company, wherever, of your employer rather, or even of clients as well, that it is something that you need to drink tea about with your friends when you go out, even at home. Confidentiality, it's key. So that's part of your branding. Your stakeholders, your clients, your colleagues, they need to feel that their financial matters are safe with you. You cannot be found discussing Standard Bank issues, with your family, with your friends, posting on social media, assuming Standard Bank, for example, is your employer. Confidentiality. Okay. So in summary, over and above your technical skills, integrity, ethics is what is demanding, or what is demanded from you, and the strong really qualities that we require from being an accountant, and that which builds up your personal brand. But I thought after sharing that as well, it's quite important, because if you also share in terms of the dangers or the threats to your personal branding, which could result into a complete destruction of your career, that we should look at threats. What are the possible threats? Because if you understand the threats, that's when you will fear tarnishing your personal brand. That's when you will fear and respect and don't take chances with your career. It is hard to study through UNISA. I always tell people along the line to say, look, I can never go out of line, because I used to walk to that campus uphill every day as a young student. And at that time, the Sunnyside campus was not as developed as it is now. So all of us used to walk to the main campus. And it was a steep hill to walk there every day to the library to study. It's a lot of effort that has gone into it. So it is not worth any risk. Social media, be careful what you post on social media. Be careful as a student now when you're going out to party. Be careful what you comment on social media. That catches up with you one day when you're sitting on an interview. It does. I think you've seen it mainly with politicians, but when you come into our space as well, when we do background checks as well, we look into your social media activities. Be careful how you dress and post yourself in social media. You are not, what do you call these social media people that make money through social media? Now the term has just disappeared from me. Yes, the ones who need to have a lot of following. You are not in that. You are not in that profession. You don't sell the number of followers. You are a leader. There's a lot of dignity. There's a lot of respect. There's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of power. That gets attached to the brand of a CASA, and the brand of an auditor, and the brand of an accountant in general. Be a responsible citizen. If I drive my nice BMW and I crash, the newspaper headlines are going to say a CASA. They are not going to say Fundi Malas was caught driving at 180 kilometers per hour. A CASA. And that is something that can stop you or prevent you from getting an opportunity in the future. Be careful of alcohol and you are caught. The headlines are going to be saying a CASA, a CASA, a CASA. Even if they don't say a CSA, let's say you are an accountant, a professional accountant, they're going to say a CFO of Standard Bank, a CFO of UNISA, a CFO of, because of the opportunities that the accounting qualifications open. It's always senior opportunities. It's always opportunities that allow you to occupy senior roles, executive roles. You are caught swearing at someone, on social media, the video is posted. it's going to be, say, the chairperson of the board of, the chairperson of the board of. So you are bringing your personal brand and the brand of the employer or the organization that you represent into disrepute. So you cannot really have a free life compared to other professions. So I cannot emphasize that. Be careful of gender-based violence, because by the time you get arrested for domestic violence, the brand, the organization you represent, and you can lose your job because of that. So that also talks to family social behavior. And I want to emphasize this a lot, especially at a student level, because you are excited now, but you're not sure where you're going to end up and the opportunity and what will make or break your competitiveness one day in a very important interview. So be careful. Personal financial management is very sad. I've sat in interviews. I get asked quite often to please come and sit in interviews, ask technical questions to candidates who are about to be appointed as CFOs. Sometimes I will sit in those interviews because I'm part of the board, or sometimes I'll be asked because I'm a specialist in the finance or accounting field. And I will sit and go through the questions, see if the candidate understands accounting, technical skills, basic concepts, or basic auditing concepts, basic accounting concepts, problem solving, and you find that the candidate gets 10 out of 10. We go and we do background checks. The candidate was blacklisted. The candidate cannot manage personal finance, and they really need the job. And there's nothing that one can do, and they will lose the opportunity just because of that. So personal financial management is important. Personal financial management is important. Some of the opportunities, employers are going to be afraid to give an opportunity because they will think that you'll be easily tempted when it comes to managing their finances, because you are under financial pressure, or in the past you've not been able to manage your own finances. It's not all employers, but I have been in situations where the candidate was just awesome, very good at an interview level. When the background checks come, it's another meeting with the board to say, but no, it cannot happen. We cannot hire this candidate, or the candidate cannot be given the opportunity because of their doubts around their ability to manage finances. So that's quite important. But what do you get as a return when you maintain a good brand, a good personal brand for yourself as an accountant? It's a rewarding career. I don't want to lie to you. Look, the sweat is worth it. I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to lie to you. The ones who are studying towards becoming chartered accountants, give it your all. Don't give up when you fail. Don't give up when you have to repeat a module. Don't give up. Believe you me, I'm a UNISA student, but I'm still getting the same benefits. It's really a rewarding career. You can wake up one day and it starts rewarding you at a young age, because remember, currently in the country, we're still struggling from having very few chartered accountants, and also from having very few specialized accountants. Remember, the CA stream, I do apologize for overselling the CA stream, but the CA stream is the only accounting profession that actually studies the technical part of accounting, meaning your IFRS standards or your accounting standards in detail. So you become a specialist from a young age. Business leader. When you finish your articles, I always say to my trainees, guys, you come in as a first year or as a trainee straight from varsity. But what I'll expect from you in your second year, third year of training, I want leadership. Accountants are leaders. Accountants are leaders. Accountants are meant to be leaders. So we are in a factory of manufacturing business leaders. So that's another reward that you will have. You'll occupy positions just to lead and to make decisions because you have the technical skill. And eventually, as you advance in your career, you become leaders in the economy. You become leaders in the economy. You become leaders of public entities. You become leaders which support political structures, by participating or becoming finance leaders in public entities, by becoming advisors, by becoming a researcher for members of legislature, or even for some of the parliamentary committees themselves, or even for board positions that you'll be sitting in. So it is a rewarding career. It's really up to you, both private sector and public sector. I think I also saw another question that was posed earlier on to the previous presenter. It was actually a chat. Both private and public sector, don't fear. You are able to actually excel in both sectors. And I think that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Fundi. Let's give her another round of applause, please. Thank you so much. So we are going to take some questions. We have 5 minutes. If there's any questions, Miss Fundi, maybe you can just attend to 1 or 2 questions. We'll see what the time says.
All right. Thanks. Vuyo?
Will you please unmute yourself?
Maybe ask Laura, maybe if you can assist, because I have the presentation on my side, I may not necessarily be able to see the questions in order on my screen, and I don't want to take my presentation down in case there are questions on specific slides. Thanks.
Okay. All right. The first person actually that raised their hand is Loretta Buntle. Loretta, you can unmute yourself.
Good day.
Good day.
Good day.
Hi, Loretta.
Hi. I just wanted to know. So I'm doing my diploma in accounting science, and I do want to follow the CA stream. I just wanted to know, after my 3rd year, like if I passed my diploma, do I have to do the degree again, or is there like a bridging course that I have to take?
All right, thanks. I think that question, the people who are best placed to answer it, I will leave it to our Gloria and her team, because it depends on the requirements of the university. Some of the modules, I understand, can be credited when you go into your degree, and maybe you may need to do additional modules, but it depends on what are the requirements per university, per institution. Yes, but for you to be able to at least go through the CA stream, the minimum requirements is that you must have a BCom accounting degree. And please make sure that the BCom accounting degree or your BCom is done through an accredited, SAICA accredited institution. UNISA is, there are many others, and you can also check the SAICA website. It's a bit painful to go through, do your BCom. When you want to do articles, you find that your qualification is not accredited by SAICA. That does not mean that you cannot be a CA. It just means that your training contract will be over a period of 4 years instead of 5 years. Okay. Sorry, instead of 3 years. I apologize on that. So if you have an unaccredited BCom accounting degree, your training contract will be 4 years instead of 3 years. Okay. Thanks. Next question.
Thank you. The next question is from Ntabiseng Ndwampe. Ntabiseng, you can unmute yourself.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Ntabi.
All right. Thank you so much for the presentation. However, I've just got 2 questions. You've been talking about the chartered accountant stream. I wanted to find out now, okay, where you said that it's going to be 3 years of articles and so on. So if I want to go the internal auditing stream, as I'm currently doing my last year of advanced diploma in accounting sciences, will I still be required to do articles also in that stream? That's number 1 question there. And then the second one, about being blacklisted. I wanted to check if companies, after your interviews and all that, they find out that you are blacklisted. Do they look at the reason why you are blacklisted? Because just for an example, with me, I was working at the bank. I lost my job. I'm 5 years at home. My late husband was not working. I was the breadwinner. So I got blacklisted because of our house. So now looking for a job, do they look at the reasons, or you just blacklisted and that affects you? Okay, those are my 2 questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks Tabiseng. I think you said you're doing a postgraduate diploma or advanced diploma in accounting stream and would like to go into the internal audit stream. As far as I know, for internal audit, you don't need to go through the SICA route. So the SICA, so you don't need to be registered with an auditing firm and for you to do SICA articles. So the SICA articles are strictly for people who want to be chartered accountants. So for internal audit stream, they probably have their own requirements where you're gonna start as a junior internal auditor. And that is normally overlooked by the Institute of Internal Auditors. So I'm more involved with the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, which is strictly for chartered accountants. But for you to qualify and train and be able to work as an internal auditor, you don't need to go through the SICA articles or the SICA training route, the SICA 3-year training route. But the Institute of Internal Auditors is likely to be the one to give you an indication. But from what I've seen in practice, internal audit students, they normally start a job as a junior internal auditor and they have to do some qualification that enables them to be, or write an exam rather, that enables them to call themselves certified internal auditors. But I'm just wondering why you put in such hard work in your advanced diploma in accounting, because that is really difficult for you to go and work as an internal auditor. I'm just curious because the headache of getting the qualification you are busy with vis-a-vis the type of work that you would like to do. It is easier to study internal audit. But if you can really take yourself through the washing machine of studying an advanced qualification in the CA stream, yeah, I'm just wondering why make life hard for yourself. If you are successful with your advanced diploma, I will still, if you would consider following through and becoming a CA, because you would have done the most difficult part of your studying, and also the benefits are not the same. Once you are a CA, you can always write exams and work as an internal auditor if you find that external audit is not for you. So chartered accountants, they deal mainly with external auditors and they can issue sign-off reports as external auditors, and they can practice in public as well. And we are also commissioners of oaths as well. So there's quite more. In terms of the blacklisting, look, it depends per organization. It is not a requirement of the profession or SICA or some form of legislation that says, someone cannot get a job as in finance if they're blacklisted. I was just making you as students, especially the younger ones, to be aware, to say, look, please be careful in terms of what you sign up for. When you get your job as a trainee for the first time, they offer you a credit card, you get private banking. Everyone, while you are still a trainee, you get approached because you're going to be a CA in 4 years, 3 years times. And without being careful, you can end up in a lot of debt at a very early stage of your life. But, at the end of the day, the appointment is made by the board of directors, by the management of a particular institution. And yes, they do engage with you, some of them, but you remember, the decisions are made behind closed doors. I was just sharing what I've experienced while making decisions about candidates who were successful but had to now not be successful because the board said and felt that, look, it is a bit too risky to appoint someone who could not manage their finances. But definitely I'm of the view that an opportunity will always be provided where you can rather indicate or disclose upfront to say, look, my life went through a rough stage. This is what has happened. I was retrenched, this and that. I think it makes life easier than when it is discovered once you have passed the interview. I think really it is much, much easier I would advise disclose it upfront where your life went through a rough patch. Thank you. Next question, if we still have time.
Thank you, Ms. Finley. Unfortunately, we do not have time. However, I'm going to request that the students who have their hands up, please write your questions on the chat, and we will request Ms. Finley to just stay with us a little bit longer, just so that she can, answer the questions that are on the chat. I do apologize for that, but because of time, unfortunately, we won't be able to take any questions. So please write your questions on the chat. Ms. Finley, thank you so, so much for such an excellent presentation. And without wasting any time, I'm going to call our next speaker. who is Mr. Mutusi Masemula. So he will be taking us on a topic titled Digital Skills and the Future of Accounting. I also have a bio of Mr. Muturi, which I would like to read so that we know the person that, just to have an idea of the person that we are talking or we will be listening to. Mr. Muturi is a seasoned finance professional and professional accountant with extensive experience across accounting, auditing, financial governance, and the digital finance transformation. He currently serves as a financial accountant at the Public Investment Corporation, where his work includes financial reporting, budgeting, national treasury submissions, and the successful implementation of Microsoft Dynamics 365 and digital budgeting and reporting solutions. Mr. Mutusi brings a strong blend of teaching experience and real-world business experience. Having worked across the public sector, financial services, consulting, and entrepreneurship, his career includes senior roles at Nedbank, Ernst & Young, and as a finance director within the innovation ecosystem, as well as founding and supporting multiple small and medium enterprises through financial systems implementation, governance, and skills transfer. Mr. Mutusi holds the following academic and professional qualifications: a BComt, a BComt in CTA, a triple BEE Management Development Program, Masters of Business Leadership, Professional Accountant, PROSI Certified Change Practitioner, and the Director Training for King 4 and Ethics in the Institute of Directors in South Africa. So he also maintains active involvement in the profession through leadership and committee roles within SAIPA, contributing to transformation, skills development, and professional growth within the accounting sector. Beyond his professional practice, Mr. Mutusi is deeply committed to skills development and student empowerment. He has lectured and tutored accounting and auditing, achieving high student pass rate, and his passion lies in bridging the gap between academic knowledge and workplace readiness. Please help me welcome Mr. Mutusi Masemola as he will be sharing with us his presentation.
Thank you very much. Please allow me to just share my presentation. We are currently under a year-end process, so you'll be hearing a lot of beeps and people trying to contact me. My year-end is actually the 31st of March. Once again, good afternoon to everybody. All protocol observed for the different speakers, as well as Executive Dean, and most importantly, the students. My presentation is going to be very easy. I'm going to try to be very simple, and I'm going to touch on the following items. Please confirm if you could see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So the gentleman I'm speaking about is about the demand of the accounting skills, the evolving technology, other factors, technical and soft skills. Okay. So we all know that the heart is a very critical part of the human system. The heart, as well as the circulatory systems. It basically transports oxygen. It pumps blood. It provides nutrients to different parts of the body. It's also involved in terms of waste removal. It regulates blood pressure. As well as it's got veins that are interconnected to every single part of the limbs as well as the body. So why do I have this? So as an accountant, I always refer to accountants as the heart of organizations. Organizations can literally not do anything without accountants, and I'll explain why. Maybe starting off with banks and financial institutions. I've basically, through my experience, I might be a bit biased, but my experience has told me that the banks and financial institutions are actually the heart of the economy, right? If we are to think about it as now that you study, what did you require to study? You needed money. Once you start working, what are you going to require? You're going to need a car. So what's going to happen? You're going to go to a bank and borrow money. Once you progress again, you'll now have a need of having a house. You'll also go to the bank and borrow money. Similarly to businesses, when they start, they need to have a bank account. When they now operate, and the key thing, other than other skills that they require, they actually need money from the bank to actually grow. You all know the saying that you need somebody's money to make money, right? So banks for me are very critical and at the heart of the economy. I've had the opportunity of traveling to some countries in Africa, and I've realized that some of the development gaps that are there is the fact that they actually don't have good financial systems. If you go to other African countries, they effectively use cash to do business. I think, in Zambia, somebody was telling me that if you want to borrow money, you have to go to Mashonisa. And when you go to the loan shark, they would literally charge you as much as 30% per month from the money that you've borrowed. So you see how that will now also negatively impair growth in that sector. Because if you had a tender like you have in SA, you know that government, you first have to invoice, you wait another 30 days to be paid. So therefore, within the 60 days, you would have paid 60%. So all your profit will literally be taken away by the interest rate. So what do banks do? Simply, 2C has a little bit of cash. And what do? I put in the bank, and I said, okay, well, I've got cash, and I go to the bank and say, how much interest rate can you actually give me? Then they'll effectively give me 4%, and then they'll take that money and lend it to borrowers, maybe at 8% if it's asset-based finance, and higher interest if it's not asset-based finance, like a credit card. Maybe I'll pay 18 to 25% if I was to borrow it through a credit card. And then what do? Once they get your interest, they pay back the interest from the depositor, and they effectively made a net interest margin. And that's how they effectively make money. Similarly to asset managers, what do? They've got large clients, pension funds, other funds that literally have lots and lots of cash, and they give it to asset managers. The asset managers literally now have a plan, and they invest that money on behalf of their clients, and they generally earn a percentage of, firstly, the money that they're handling. Secondly, maybe out of the growth and the asset growth of their portfolio, they get to make a percent in a margin. And that's where I work. As the company that I work for right now is a public investment corporation, which effectively are the asset managers for pension funds, your GPF being the biggest client that we have. So it's effectively all the pensioners' money that when you start working, you'll contribute towards a pension fund, and then our entity will literally be taking that money and investing it on your behalf, either in property, either in shares, either in fixed income, either investment in other entities. So what do these entities look for when they actually, somebody comes to them and say, well, I want to borrow money? So there's a basic principle that everybody needs to learn, and I think every accountant needs to learn this. It's called the 5 C's of credit. You can go Google it from Investopedia. They look at the condition, what you're applying for, your capacity. Would you be able to pay back the money? Are you going to put in some money into it? Are you going to put down a collateral? And your character. If you can't manage your own money, how should I trust you to manage my money? That's effectively. So who effectively are the people that actually grant this credit or loans to businesses and individuals. They're called credit managers. And guess what? Typically, those are accountants. What documents do they typically need? They need annual financial statements and the recent management accounts, projections or financial plan, compliance documents, and they also look at the governance that you have. One of the key things that they will normally say is that um, they don't bet on the horse, they bet on the jockey. So the person that's running that company is what they basically are betting on to say that will they be able to get their money back from them. So what do you want to see? They want to see if a person has the ability to pay the debt or interest. The the applicant knows, understands, and manages their own risk. Right? So we all know each individual will need money. All businesses will need money. So effectively, there's a demand for accountants. So every business that aims to make money or profit require an accountant. Accountants are in all industries, non-governmental institutions, and all spheres of government. So effectively, the demand for accountants is high, and you all have studied accounts, economics 101, demand and supply. So why do they need it? Because we are the best people that actually best understand numbers, right? So we are facilitators for businesses to actually plan, make money, as well as is to plan, strategize, and actually make money. And again, accountants in all spheres. The roles of accountants. So the roles of accountants is typically evolving. So previously we used to be known as bean counters, only just to count. But that role is I won't call it diminishing, but there is actually much more that is actually required from accountants. Once we're in business, required to be actually strategists, decision makers, required to be advisors, we're required to be leaders, we're also required to be now investors, investing money on behalf of whoever that has granted us money. What other thing would I say that industry generally require? Industry require critical thinkers and not just doers. What do I mean? By you just doing the annual financial statements, you're just a doer, right? But now taking that financial statements, being able to interpret it and guide the future of the business towards a more profitable state, that is now a critical thinking, you being able to analyze, interpret, and being able to now use that information for business decisions. What else is required by industry is industry requires us to have the highest level of integrity and ethical conduct. Industry also places a lot of accountability and trust on accountants, and which has been touched by previous speakers from the dean as well as from the previous speaker as well. So critical things to understand is that every business goes through various cycles. And as that business goes through various cycles, it will typically also need a different type of CEO, and it will also need a different type of CFO role. So your role needs to be very adaptive based on the stage of the corporate life cycle of that particular organization, right? For example, as a startup, you basically are selling a vision, right? So you need to be able to do a business model, financial plan, strategy, business plan, X, Y, and Z. And the idea is you need to actually raise capital to actually grow the business. But as you go further up and become more maturity, you have one risk. One risk is that your earnings will fall and there'll be new interest entry to the market as they see that whatever industry is in is profitable. And as we all know, once an industry is profitable, everybody wants to go to it. For example, the biggest buzz now is that the technological sector is now being more profitable. I think the biggest company that has the biggest valuation is actually a technological company. The one, is it Nvidia or Nivea? I just forgot how to pronounce the name. But they basically produce CPUs for super mega computings as well as PlayStation consoles and so on. Right? So I think this was also touched by the previous speaker, is that there are different stages as you grow within the accounting space. For example, as a trainee, you require generally 90% technical skills and 10% ability to manage yourself. Then you go to second or third year, you're expected to be a supervisor. You now use 75% of your skill and 25% of your supervisor. So this is my interpretation. It's not research-based. And as you become a manager, you now need to dabble between technical skills as well as management skills. And then as you climb up the corporate ladder, it's less technical work because your job is not to do, is more to review. Management skills and a bit of technical skills because your role is to give direction, lead, as well as implement what you've been tasked to actually do. And as well, another element is risk management. Then at director level, again, now you use less of your technical skills, use less of your management skills, but it's more of your leadership skills, how you are able to influence people to go through the direction. It's like going to Cape Town. How many people can you convince in your class to say, well, let's all plan a trip and go to Cape Town? And how many people, as you plan for that trip, will actually fall off, and how many will actually take you there to that desired destination? You also require other skills like soft skills, as well as risk management. Technology and the field. So there's always going to be buzzwords in terms of technology. For example, back in the days, we used to have the double ledger books that used to use in high school. Okay, I'm very old. So that's what we used to use. Then it has now moved to us using systems. And then those systems are now moved from being desktop-based to now cloud-based. And then now the new buzzword is that, okay, now that you have those systems, is now integrating it with AI. So what I'm saying is that there's always going to be changes in technology, but technology is actually an enabler, right? It's a tool to make us more efficient and effective, right? And I thought that maybe in your own time, just go Google the meaning of efficient and effective, right? I just summarize it here, say, an efficiency is about maximizing the time and effort in your resources, while effectiveness is about the quality of the results you see from the results of investments, right? So efficiency is all about reducing cost. Effectiveness is all about achieving your strategic goal, right? And how do I view technology, or particularly more the AI? AI is just, it is like back in the days when I used to study, everything used to go to the library and use books. I'm sure now it has evolved that your books are now digitized, so you can actually now look it through your computer. So all it is just that how you access that information is much more different. Going through the library, it will take me the first 30 minutes to go find that book. Technology, now everything is in your laptop, it takes you 2 seconds. Now, you would be paging through that book to get that information, so it might take you another 30 minutes to find the exact information that you need. Now, AI has made that search much faster than what you actually utilize. So you can now just type in a question and it will answer, but it basically has to search a database which you can redirect it to say, from this book, please look for this information. So all it is just access to information. How do I use AI in the workplace? So I was fortunate, I was able to go through for 2 days training at Microsoft for AI. They taught us a lot. I was actually probably one of the few accountants with many IT guys. But what I've realized is that you're basically building a robot or an engine that could either answer questions, redirect people to a specific field, but you always have to link it to a specific database, right? Am I using that at work? No, because my IT won't allow me to actually start creating those agents because there's risk to that. But from an IT side, if I now collaborate with IT, design an agent to say, I need an agent to do A, B, C, D, then we could actually collaborate in that element. Okay. So, with regards to technological skills, what is expected in time from you? Is firstly part of your studies when you're studying that we used to call it DPA 101 and 102 is a basic understanding of systems and applications, right? Once you start work, you need to have basic understanding of a basic accounting system. There are very cheap ones like your Sage, Xero, QuickBooks. And once you go into bigger corporate, you're expected to now know the advanced account systems, which will be your ERPs, your Microsoft Dynamics, your SAP, your Sage Intacct. What other skills that are you going to be utilizing quite a lot, particularly throughout your training and your employment? It is effectively Excel. And you don't have to wait until you start working to actually know how to use Excel. You can actually go to Microsoft and register an account, or through your Unis account. I think you do have a Microsoft account, and you can do training for free. By the time you actually exit university, you will have those basic Excel skills as well as Microsoft Office skills. Then your more reporting tools would be now having a better understanding of Power BI as well as utilizing Excel, right? So within these skills that you're going to develop, right, it's not just about being able to create data, but being able to utilize that data and present it to influence decision and strategy. Other factors that will impact accounting in the future, right? There's a basic articles, I think, from the whitecases.com. Those elements are basically that's going to impact. Okay, maybe let's just come back. So we've all been talking from governance, internal controls, in terms of the IUDSA, King 4, King 5. And then in America, it has been more, instead of recommendation, more of a requirement. They use what they call Sarbanes-Oxley 404. So that basically means that don't just say you've got internal controls, prove it as well as test it. The biggest gap that we have in SA is that people will say, are internal controls working? Everybody will put a smile and say, yes, they are. But how many of them have said, have they actually tested it? They've got evidence, and management has actually made an assessment to say, this control that was designed 5 years ago is still working today, and it will continue to work in the future. Other elements that I think are going to impact, or that has impacted business already, is that the biggest error that we can do with business is based on the Excel models that we actually create. So if, for instance, you've got an Excel model for calculating of impairment, you haven't locked the formula, somebody could go in and change it, and it's in a shared folder, and you might not check if those Excel formulas have changed. You assume whatever you've put in and the output is there is actually correct, so the assumptions are processing is correct. So most of the biggest changes you will see in terms of financial statement reclassifications and so forth is because some of the errors that have occurred by using Excel models. When I used to work at a bank, I was fortunate to do Sarbanes-Oxley 404, where we required management to attest every month to say controls are working. Those we allowed now internal audit to go and actually test, and then we could take that information and give it to external auditors, and they could actually have a better reliance on the work that we do. So by that, having a good combined assurance and reducing external audit costs going forward. So one of the things that when you have time, you're bored during your holidays, you can read about Sarbanes-Oxley 404. Other things that actually impact business is the understanding and the management of risk. Right? If you think of a bank, what is the role of a bank? The role of a bank is actually to manage risk, because they've got depositors' money that they need to grow, and they also need to manage the risk of the people that they give money to is actually going to come back. So how do these actually came about? So all your accountants, internal auditors, and everybody else, they once said, I think in the US, and they developed an organization called COSO. And this organization called COSO was actually the birth of actually enterprise risk management. It was accountants, auditors, as well as other experts. So they basically now have designed a, how can I call it? They've actually designed minimum requirements that we should expect in every organization for the business to be able to actually efficiently manage risk. So when you now talk internal controls, enterprise risk management framework, all of those are actually birthed from COSO. So when you have time, actually go read about it. Because every business has a risk. It's the risk that they've set a strategic objective to make X amount of profit, and then they need to, if they said we're going to make 20% profit, and they've put it there as a plan for the year, their biggest risk is them not achieving what they've actually set out to do. And how do they do that? They now need to manage any form of risk that will actually deter them from actually achieving the objectives. So again, from a strategic element, as you further study, you'll have your accounting skills, and then as you now want to build more, you become a senior manager, you want to build more strategic as well as leadership skills. So you'll see yourself studying for executive programs, either doing your master's, now not being too technical focused on accounting, but more of a business knowledge. And one of the things that you will learn is around strategy. And why I shared this, so this is basically, it links up to the ERM, Enterprise Risk Management, is to say, what are the things that as a business or as a business leader or senior managers, you need to look at in order to make sure that you can achieve your objectives. So it says that a business has to focus on 7S, which is, they call it the 4S hard S's, as well as it's the 3 hard S's as well as the 4 soft S's, which is around structure, strategy, skills, as well as now looking at the people side, which is a style of leadership, the staff that you actually have, the capabilities, looking at the systems that you actually also have. Not just systems that looks at systems that you utilize internally, but also systems that you utilize to maintain a positive culture, as well as having values so that people can do things that they need to do in a correct way with integrity without you being behind them all the time just to see if they're doing what they're supposed to do. Other factors that will impact it, that will impact accounting in the future, is the sustainable development goals. For example, right now the big buzzwords is around corporate social responsibility, but all of that, if you actually let you go to the foundation of it, they're all about making sure that we do things in a sustainable manner, that the next generation will still have resources that they can still do. So if we die, the next generation should still be able to have good air, should be able to still be effective, be able to work, and so forth. So all these things, the core element in terms of what is now affecting particularly us in the accounting field in terms of sustainable reporting, actually stems back from the sustainable goals, the UN sustainable goals. Takeaways. Few websites that will say that you could actually go and read on your time. It's COSO. So that will teach you around internal controls, enterprise risk framework. There's books that you can actually, it's a good guidance, and you'll realize everything you study, being internal audit, being external audits, risk management, strategy, they all have a way of actually linking it up to COSA. Investopedia will teach you quite a bit. When I started banking, the first 2 weeks, my boss told me, for the first 2 weeks, just go to Investopedia and read the business of banking to understand the different fields of the bank. Because my role then was about understanding what happens from when a person walks into the bank and how that actually ends up in financials, identifying the risk, the controls, documenting processes, and basically understanding the end-to-end process, including understanding the IT systems that are actually interlinked. Strategic management insight. This for me is your MBA in one day, right?
Just Mr. Matusi. I'm just gonna give you maybe 2 minutes just to wrap up, please.
I'm almost done.
Okay,
IUPSA, SDA, that's what. Lastly, what we require from you is to be critical thinkers. Always ask the why. Most people study to pass. I've always said I used to study to understand. So if you can ask me something that I studied 20 years ago, I can still remember the principles behind it. Next thing is read. Don't just read your academic books, but read whatever's in the industry. Some resources are free. I remember I went through the first five years without even processing a journal. And then I had to now pause and say, well, Mutusi, you call yourself an accountant, but you have actually not even processed a journal. So I went on a quest of actually learning new skills, and I just went to all these accounting software sites, and I learned through the free resources as an accountant to actually use their systems. Be persistent. Biggest lesson I was taught when I was still studying, when I was doing my second year, I thought, well, I could actually work and study. Somebody says, well, pause, focus on what you're currently doing, because work-life balance, as hard as it is actually even much harder to now add an element of studying while you are working. Because trust me, when you're doing training, you don't work 8 hours. You actually work 10 hours, 11 hours. You've got quite a lot of overtime that you have to do. Lastly, learn to adapt. And I will pause there and say thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Matusi. Yeah, I know that, it can get, yeah, when you're in your zone, you just want to continue. But unfortunately, because of time, I had to, just cut you there. But then I'm sure that the students had, and they are taking notes, and also the websites that you have shared, that they will make use of those. So I'm going to take just 2 hands. The first hand is Nontogozo Nkosi. Nontogozo, you can unmute yourself.
I think she's had this hand up from the beginning of the presentation.
Oh, okay. So it could be a historical hand. Nontogozo? Okay. All right. We pass. We go to Teboho. Teboho, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Masimula, I wanted to ask if you were in the seat that we are in now, what would you do differently based on the experience you've gained and the knowledge you know?
What I would do differently, I would actually study as high as possible. I would probably only finish studying at PhD level and then go look for work. That's what I would do differently. But what did I do differently to other students while I was still a student? When I was a student, we saw a gap of the interaction with industry, companies not recruiting from UNISA. They didn't understand UNISA. So a few friends of mine and colleagues about 2004 actually, we started what you guys know now as Abasa UNISA. We actually started it. It used to be called UNISA Become Society. Then we're able to say, well, the next step is for us to actually look for employment. So we started building a relationship with employers. And I'm sure you could see in some of your career days, most of the companies that actually attend those are actually more accounting related. Is because of those relationships that we actually started from back then. But that also assisted me in actually positioning myself, going back to now speaker number one, positioning myself and making myself um, different to other learners where I could now work for the Big Four. Because when I used to be there, people didn't believe that UNISA students could work for the Big Four. And even the Big Fours did not even recruit from UNISA because they don't understand UNISA. So, but we actually made that difference. We built relationships, and those relationships panned out. We've got a number of students that got bursaries, that got trainees, contracts, and so forth. So that's what I did differently as a student to any other student.
Please, can you just highlight again what it was called, what you had done, and where the accounting firms go?
Pardon?
Because you just broke a little bit. I didn't hear after you had said just previously after building relationship with employers, and that's where most of the accounting other firm owners would be.
So, okay. So I said that the Big Fours never used to recruit from UNISA. So we went out and built relationship with the Big Fours and other black firms, as well as corporates to recruit from UNISA, where we got student bursaries, we got students trainee contracts. But based on those relationships and the relationship we had built, now I had built a demand for myself to actually be employed by them. So it was very easy for me to actually get a trainee contract because I at that stage I had every HR's contact number on my phone. And how I built those contacts, I didn't just wait. I literally took my phone, called, and said, "Hi, my name is Mutusi. I would like to work for your company. Who can I actually speak to guide me on how to prepare myself to actually work for you in the future?" And that's how I built contacts.
Thank you, Mr. Mutusi. The next question, can we just see the hand? Sipo, you can unmute yourself.
Afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Sir, I just want to ask you something. I'm currently in like the logistics industry, and I sometimes like to just show my boss a few stuff in accountancy. But I just want to ask, which what's this? Which software can I start using now to just like try to impress him more a bit? Because I heard you say a few stuff, so I just want to learn something quick to just impress him a bit. I don't know, what can I get from you?
I can actually go your industry because I've started a company in the transport business. So one of the big things in transport is the RTMS, right? Road Traffic Management System. So the idea around it is about being able to manage your risk so that you actually have less accidents. By having less accidents, you have less expenditure and you become more profitable. And you actually, by doing that, that actually reduces your insurance cost. So if you go Google RTMS, Road Traffic Management System, and that will actually give you an idea about managing risk. Some of the other things that you need to look into will be your health and safety risk. For example, that RTMS basically talks about risk and also how to manage health and safety. For instance, when you have drivers, it's not recommended that you actually call them while they're driving. You'd rather let them go to a stop, and then you could actually give them a call. Because if you call a driver and say you are late, chances are he's going to panic, he's going to drive very fast, and he's going to cause an accident. And then from an accounting side is just Google what is the rent cost per kilometer for a particular transport? Should you actually go buy a vehicle or should you actually go lease a vehicle? I went through that decision when I was starting up an entity for a B scheme at Shell. The company is called Lokiwe. I had to say, I'm starting a company for these guys that used to be drivers. What they need to focus on the first year of the business is actually how to run a business. So rather went for the lease element because it was actually a more reflection of what the real cost of business is. Maybe let me pause there. Buy versus sell, those decision makings.
So much, Mr. Mutusi.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I actually have a follow-up question, Sipho.
No, I'm quite impressed because I'm actually working on RTMS stuff. We are applying for PBS stuff, so I'm quite impressed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, because of time, I'm not going to be able to take any more hands. However, I'm going to ask that we write our questions on the chat and Mr. Mutusi will attend to them before we close. Another thing also is there's going to be an evaluation which is posted on the chat. I'm kindly requesting that we complete that evaluation. It's very important that we complete it because then it guides us on the type of workshops and topics that you would like us to cover in the future. So please, students, go to your chat and look for the evaluation link there and please complete it for us. Mr. Mutusi, once again, thank you so much for engaging with our students and for your insightful presentation. We really appreciate your time and the effort that you have put into sharing this knowledge with our students. Thank you so much. I'm going to request that while we are busy completing the evaluation, I'm going to request Ms. Makanya to come and do the closing and the vote of thanks for us. Ms. Makanya.
Thank you, Madam Program Director. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, guests, colleagues, and our dear Unisens, our students. As we draw this enriching and insightful seminar to a close, it is both an honor and a privilege to extend our sincere appreciation to all those who contributed to the success of today's Employability Skills Seminar. We begin by expressing our heartfelt gratitude to the Executive Dean of the College of Accounting Sciences, Dr. Hlongwane, for his opening and welcome remarks and for clearly articulating the purpose of the day. Your leadership and commitment to student development continue to inspire and guide initiatives such as this. Thank you very much. We also wish to thank you, Ms. Benita Kolari, for her insightful impactful presentation, which provided valuable context on the evolving nature of the world of work. She highlighted how graduates can position themselves effectively in a rapidly changing environment and offered practical guidance on the skills required to stand out and compete for opportunities. Her contribution has provided our students with a clear understanding of what it is expected in today's professional landscape and will continue to inform and strengthen their readiness as they prepare to enter the accounting profession. Thank you, Madam. We further extend our sincere appreciation to Ms. Fundima Laza, an accomplished graduate of the University of South Africa, for engaging an insightful presentation on personal branding for accounting graduates. Your presentation, ma'am, focused on building a strong professional brand with particular emphasis on cultivating a credible and ethical professional identity. Thank you for highlighting the importance of positioning oneself with integrity within the accounting profession, an approach that resonates deeply with our students. Thank you very much, Madam. We also wish to thank Mr. Mutusi Masimula for his insightful presentation on digital skills and the future of accounting. He highlighted the growing importance of digital competence in a rapidly evolving profession, also emphasizing that technological advancement are reshaping the roles and expectations of accounting profession. Your contribution, sir, has equipped our students with a deeper understanding of the digital capabilities required in the field and will continue to guide them as they prepare to navigate and contribute meaningfully to the accounting profession in the future. Thank you very much, sir, for your contribution. To our program directors, Ms. Mariska Edwards and Ms. Gloria Sepula, we extend our sincere appreciation for steering today's program with such professionalism and poise. Your coordination ensured a seamless and well-structured engagement. Thank you very much, colleagues. We further acknowledge and thank the organizing team under the capable leadership of Dr. Pitswane for their dedication, commitment, and meticulous planning. Your efforts behind the scenes, especially Diksha Lala, colleagues, have made this event a success. To our students, we thank you for your active participation and engagement. Your presence affirms the importance of such initiatives and reflects your commitment to personal and professional growth. As we conclude, ladies and gentlemen, we trust that the knowledge and insights gained today will continue to guide and shape your journeys within the accounting profession. We wish you all the very best in your academic pursuits and future career endeavors. Thank you very much, Ms. Program Director. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Makanya, and thank you to everyone that has attended today's program. Would like to say thank you and have a wonderful day further. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.